Here's Frank, Scott, Chris, and Adam.
Welcome into another Fantasy Baseball Today mailbag, this time on Thursday, February 10th. I am Frank Sample, joined by an ailing Scott White. The poor guy has nearly lost his voice, but he's just too valuable. We need him. He is vital to the podcast and our success here, and thus we power on, Scotty. We power on. What's going on, bud?
Soldier on, I would say. Yeah, I know people who've been listening all week probably aren't expecting it to continue getting worse. At some point, you have to think I'm going to be over the hump and start to get better. That day is not today. So we soldier on. We soldier on, Frank. I will stick to the low notes. I will talk in a monotone even more than usual. And we'll answer some fantasy baseball questions here in the mailbag.
Were you a big fan of the Saw movies, Scott? You kind of got the Jigsaw voice going on right now. What a play game.
I really did like the first Saw. Yeah.
It was good. It was good.
After that, it kind of just became torture porn. And so I checked out. I checked out after the third one. But the first one was very clever movie. And I recommend it.
Yeah, I think there's something like 10 of them now. Or didn't Chris Rock direct the most latest one? I don't know, something like that. There's a lot of those movies going on. I think I saw at least 3 of them, maybe 4 Saw movies, which will surprise some people, surprise a part of our audience. Yes, I've seen some movies out there. Thanks again to everybody who continues to send in your emails. You want us to answer your question, you could send it in fantasybaseball@cbsi.com. That's the letter I. So if you have a question, put mailbag in the subject line, and we're going to do one of these podcasts per week. They're usually a little bit shorter than our full-length podcast. Definitely shorter than our position previews. There's no doubt about that. But again, you want your question answered, email us, or you can leave a 5-star Apple rating and leave your question in the review. But let's jump right in, Scotty, and we're going to start with Anthony in Minnesota, who I know is a dedicated listener. He often tweets at me as well. So shout out to Anthony in Minnesota. Hello, Brendan, Byron, and Sandy. I don't know if are you looking at the rundown, Scott?
I have it pulled up now. Yes.
So then you probably know who these players are. They are each one of our true loves, and we do have our Players We Love podcast coming up soon. So wait and see. We'll see if Scotty chooses Brendan Rodgers, goes with Byron Buxton, and if I go with Sandy Alcantara.
So this is just his deduction, I guess.
Yeah.
Based on how often and how emphatically we discuss these players.
It would make sense.
I'm going to take it down an octave, Frank. That last one was a little too high.
All right, bud.
Special guest star today.
I'm totally fine if you want to go with the voice changer. I know we tried to figure it out on the mock draft, but I always liked the voice changer. I know other people weren't about it, but if you could figure that out, Scott, then let's do it.
Is this it?
No, it's not it. It's all right.
And this isn't it?
No, it's not it.
We'll
figure it out. Let's answer some questions. I have a keeper dilemma in a 6x6 roto league with the extra categories being OPS for hitters and K per 9 for pitchers. Keeper rules are you keep 2 in the round they were drafted and can only keep them for 2 years. Assuming there are 2 years of keeper eligibility left, here are my options. Ketel Marte in round 8, Kevin Gausman in round 10, Jake Cronenworth in round 18, and Tyler Mahle in round 19. I am leaning Marte since it's about a 2-round discount. Unsure if it's good to keep Gausman and not have a pick for 2 of 3 rounds, or take the bigger discount in Jake Cronenworth. What do you think, Scotty?
Well, it would matter to me how deep my voice is, how deep this league is, because the deeper it is, the shallower it is, the more impactful you want your keepers to be. Like, that matters more than the extent of the discount. So assuming 12 teams or something shallower, Marte and Gosman. But if it's like, I don't know, 15 teams or more, maybe you think about keeping Cronenworth. I'd be more likely to keep him over Marte than Gosman. You know what? I don't even think it matters that much. Marte and Gosman.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think Gosman for sure, but I do agree with you. If it's a deeper league, getting Jay Cronenworth in round 18, I think that's worthy of consideration. But in a vacuum, I would go with Ketel Marte and Kevin Gosman as well. This one's from David. What's up, Larry, Daryl, and Daryl? I'm terrible at these. So.
Is this Larry, Daryl, and Daryl? Is this that old sitcom? I know there's some character on some old sitcom. He always had introduced himself as brother Daryl and his other brother Daryl.
It looks like it's something called Newhart. Does that sound
there
right?
you go. Yep.
I've never watched it. So
more our parents' generation, I think.
Yeah. Although I watched a lot of Nick at Night growing up, so the older sitcoms. I mean, I'm usually well versed. I've seen a good amount of them, but not this one, Newhart. I've never seen it. And for anyone who's wondering, if you're a newer listener to the podcast, when you send in your questions, feel free to attach some kind of trio of names so we figure them out on the podcast and have some fun with those. So thank you, David, for sending that in. Here is your question. Is there any reason I shouldn't take Shohei Ohtani at number 2 overall in this format? It is a 13-team roto league with OBP, not average, and we can make daily moves. So that means he can get hitting stats every day. He isn't pitching. He is a 9-tool player. Why would I not do this and take Turner, Soto, or Tatis, depending on who would fall to number 2? What do you think, Scotty? Roto, OBP, 13 teams, daily lineups. You could basically reap all of Ohtani's benefits.
Well, there is inherent risk to Ohtani that he's taking on this incomparable workload over a very long season. And he managed to do it last year, but is that something he can sustain year after year? He could spend a lot of time on the IL, or his performance could suffer, I think, especially on the hitting end where he's most valuable. So that would be my hesitation. I agree it's probably worth the risk in this format. I think Fernando Tatis is the one player that I'd have a difficult time passing up for him. Although he obviously has risks of his own with the shoulder. He's just a monster offensively, and if not for that risk of the shoulder, like, he'd be such an easy number 1. It's a close call between those two for the first pick, I think, in this format where you have the daily lineup moves.
Yeah, I tweeted this out earlier regarding Fernando Tatis. No kind of mind-boggling stat here, but he's played 273 career games. His 150 game pace in his first 273 is 44 homers and 28 steals. That is just outstanding for Fernando Tatis. However, given that this is OBP, Scott, I think that I would actually rank Juan Soto ahead of Fernando Tatis. Not that Tatis is bad in OBP, but man, Juan Soto is such a standout. So I think it's close. I would go with Ohtani, number 2 overall in this format in the daily lineup league. This one's from Darren. Dear Ivan or Yvonne, Adrian, and Juan. Are those
I don't know. There's Juan Gonzalez and Ivan Rodriguez, and maybe I don't know who Adrian would be. Adrian
Gonzalez?
I don't know. Adrian Beltre.
Adrian Beltre. Are those Right.
Just great Rangers hitters?
Yeah, that could be it.
Maybe.
Yeah. I am in a highly competitive 16-team head-to-head points keeper league. We keep 10 regular players along with 2 freshmen and 1 sophomore. The league is very deep, and we have 20 minor league spots as well. Elite starting pitching is money in this league, and I have a lot of it with Corbin Burns, Shane Bieber, Julio Urias, and Joe Musgrove as locked-in keepers. My question for you guys is the following. My final keeper spot has come down to 2 players, Tyler Glasnow and Yu Darvish. Who would you take? With Glasnow, I know I'm getting a season of nothing followed by a season of TJ recovering. I've tried to trade Glasnow, but I'm all I'm getting is lowballed. If I let Glasnow go, I can kiss him goodbye, as there is no way he will make it to me in this upcoming draft. My window of contention is now. So it's interesting, Scott, because he already has the 4 awesome pitchers in Burns, Bieber, Julio Reyes, and Joe Musgrove. Do you choose to maybe take that redshirt year out of Tyler Glasnow and know that he's younger than Darvish and could have a longer potential impact in a keeper league?
Yeah, especially I think since there are concerns about Darvish's performance. If there weren't, I might not stress the age difference so much. It's really just about we don't know if Darvish is going to be a high-end performer ever again. I think there's a pretty good chance I rank him, I think, 29th at starting pitcher. But it's a reasonable doubt. And in a league where 160 players are kept, I think you can play the long game with your keepers. Even not recognizing that you're looking to compete now. I mean, I think without Darvish, you have a strong enough starting staff to do that.
Yeah, and especially in a 16-team league, Scott. I mean, it's so deep. So I think you're doing it the right way, keeping all these pitchers. And just a reminder on what Tyler Glasnow did last year before he unfortunately needed Tommy John surgery: 2.66 ERA, 0.93 WHIP, 123 strikeouts, and 88 innings pitched. I mean, this guy was really coming into his own as like a top 5, top 10 starting pitcher for fantasy. And yeah, I think this is something just to remember as well for keeper leagues. If you have an IL on your team and it's one of those leagues where you can keep a player for late, like for their round value the following year or for their salary cap value the following year, try to scoop up Tyler Glasnow very late in your keeper league or in a salary cap keeper league. Throw him out for a couple bucks and see if you can get him, so you can keep him for cheaper next year in 2023. This one's from Charlton. I recently joined a 15-team league. All right, this is an interesting question. I read it beforehand. Some of these I didn't read beforehand, so bear with me. But this one was interesting. A 15-team league, 30-man MLB roster, 25 minor league spots, where you draft 2 MLB teams from which you pick 10 players each to start your team. They can be on MLB or minor league affiliates outside of the obvious teams: Braves, Dodgers, Yankees, Angels, White Sox, Astros. What are some under the radar teams that have a good balance of prospects and MLB players to choose from? So I'm going to filibuster a little bit here, Scott, to give you some time to think about this one. But
yeah, I don't even know what makes these teams obvious. Like, I feel like the White Sox have the worst prospect situation right now, so I don't know why they'd be among the obvious ones. But
what just came to mind, Scott, immediately? And it's not just because of Julio Rodriguez. I think that they genuinely have a good roster now, but obviously the Mariners, I think they're up and coming. I think that they're a team that could compete, and I think they have a lot of really good prospects on the way. Julio Rodriguez, Jared Kelenic, obviously Logan Gilbert already on the roster, but they've got pitching prospects: George Kirby, Emerson Hancock. They have Matt Brash. They're a really, really exciting team. So, and they just got Robbie Ray. Like, I'd be very interested in the Seattle Mariners. The Detroit Tigers are a team that, in that same way. I mean, maybe not as good, but I kind of like the Tigers.
They have 2 great prospects, but not a lot going on at the major league level.
True.
I'm looking at the Blue Jays.
For sure.
And
yeah, the Blue Jays are up and coming already, like with their entire roster. And then they have, Jordan Groshans coming on the way as well in their prospect system.
Yeah, I'm not sure I love any of the others, to be honest. The Pirates have a lot of prospects, but not a lot going on at the major league level.
How about the Padres?
Yeah, I thought about them, but
they have Abrams coming. They have Robert Hassel.
Yeah, they're okay. They're like a mid-tier pick, I think.
Okay.
I guess you did hit on a lot of the big ones here, but I would add the Blue Jays to the list.
Okay. Yeah, I think Blue Jays for you, Mariners for me.
Yeah, definitely Mariners. You're right. Yep.
Cardinals. How about the Cardinals, Scott? They have some talent now. They have Nolan Gorman. They have Jordan Walker coming as well.
Yeah, they're okay. Another mid-tier pick.
Matthew Liberatore.
Rays are probably a mid-tier pick just because they have a deep farm system, but they don't, for being a good team, they don't have a lot of standouts on the major league roster.
All right, so I think those 5 teams right there that we just talked about, the Mariners, the Blue Jays, the Padres we mentioned, the Cardinals, and the Rays. I think those are like the 5 teams, maybe outside of those obvious ones. This next one's from Marco in Toronto. I was thinking Salvador Perez was a big advantage because he played basically every day, filling in as DH on days off. Are there any National League catchers that will get similar workloads this year with the NL DH spot? First and foremost, I don't think that there is a single National League catcher that will come close to the workload we saw from Salvador Perez last year. He played 161 games, and his plate appearance total was the most that we saw in the MLB since Victor Martinez back in 2009. So that just lets you know, like, it's been a decade since we saw a catcher eligible player play that much. With that being said, Scott, the ones that come to mind immediately, Will Smith will benefit. JT Realmuto will benefit. I think Wilson Contreras, especially, they signed Yan Gomes in the offseason. So I think that they did that knowingly that, Gomes could play catcher, and then Wilson Contreras will either DH, maybe play some time at first base as well. Those guys, and then maybe a little bit lower down, someone like Travis d'Arnaud.
Yeah, it's really just you look at the best hitting catchers. Oh my gosh. The best hitting catchers are all likely to get more. They're likely to be the ones who the teams want to stay in the lineup at DH when they need a break from catching. I mentioned on the catcher preview that Luis Campusano, prospect for the Padres, who's gotten a taste of the majors each of the last 2 years, doesn't look like he has anything more to prove in the minors. Questionable defensively, but I really like the offensive profile. I could see him becoming, kind of a backup catcher / primary DH for them, but it may not happen from the get-go.
All right, yeah, I agree with that. I think 2 other young players in that same regard. Keibert Ruiz, obviously, I believe that the Nationals value his bat. That's part of his appeal as a prospect. So he could be one of them. And then Tyler Stevenson. While we don't like the draft cost for Tyler Stevenson, he should play. He should be the main catcher for the Reds, and he even played some first base last year. So I think that they really do like his bat in the lineup, and as a result, probably see him get some days at DH as well. This next one's from Papa Torres. Dear Athos, Porthos, and Aramis.
I believe those are the 3 Musketeers.
Really? I had no idea. I did not know what their names were. Wow. Yeah, you're right. Good thing that you're here, Scott, because I would just embarrass myself over and over. Happy Fantasy Baseball 22. First, what an outstanding job you're all 3 doing so far. Thank you. Listen to every show this year. An Apple review will follow. Thank you. We really do appreciate it. Could you please discuss the following approach when drafting for a head-to-head categories league? Drafting 2 aces, then loading up on hitters for the next 5 to 6 rounds when drafting at the bottom half of the draft. So rounds 8 through 12, picks 8 through 12, drafting 2 studs from the same position above, and then 2 to 3 starting pitchers after it. All right. So 2 aces early, Scott, and then load up on hitters, drafting 2 studs at the same position. Why do they have to be the same position? I'm confused. All right, let's just say drafting 2 stud hitters and then 2 to 3 starting pitchers after it. What do you think?
So pocket aces. And then a bunch of hitters in a categories league.
Yep. Head-to-head categories.
The pocket aces thing has always struck me as kind of gimmicky. I don't know who's going to listen to this whole podcast. Frankly, this is pretty awful. We just did a 2-hour mock draft before this, so I didn't have enough to do that, and we're going forward with this mailbag anyway. So apologies. I'm doing the best I can. The pocket aces thing has always struck me as gimmicky because I don't know that that's Like, why do you necessarily have to use your first 2 picks on a pitcher? Maybe you want 2 good starting pitchers, but they could be in rounds 2 and 4, you know? Like, I just don't know that you have to box yourself in like that. Um, and I don't think you necessarily need 2 anyway, because there's such a good upper middle class at the position now. You get 1 true ace maybe, and then you get 2 of those guys from like the Max Fried, Jose Barrios tier, and that would be potentially even stronger. So no, I don't really. I mean, this approach could work for you, but it doesn't really have. I don't see clear merits for it, for doing something this specific.
Yeah. I think, yeah, you don't have to be as rigid in your strategy here. Typically in this format, we did a head-to-head categories mock draft recently. You can go back and watch it on our YouTube channel. But I'd like to get 1 starting pitcher probably with my first 2 picks, and then probably another starting pitcher at the 3-4. I'd like to have 2 aces that I could just always leave in my lineup in this format, and then draft a bunch of relievers that help out with ratios, and obviously, get like 2 or 3 closers in there. And then I wait, and then, maybe pick up some upside pitchers later on. That's what I typically do. And I like to punt steals. So players in that range that would fit that strategy, Mike Trout, Freddie Freeman, even like, Kyle Tucker, he'll probably give you like 12 to 15, or like a Bryce Harper or someone like that. So I would try to punt steals and maybe get like 2 pitchers in your first 4 picks. That's what I usually do in that format. This next one's from Jake. I play in a 10-man 8x8 roto league with daily lineup changes, standard 5x5 categories, plus hits, total bases, and OPS on the hitter side, plus holds, K/9, and quality starts on the pitcher side. And I have to choose 3 keepers out of the following: Bryce Harper, Kyle Tucker, Luis Robert, Rafael Devers, Walker Buehler, Shane Bieber, Max Scherzer. In a vacuum, I think I would pick Harper, Tucker, and Robert, but they all play at the deepest position, and my league is only 3 outfielders. There are also 2 utility spots. Would you roll with the 3 outfielders, or would you sub Devers for a starting pitcher for 1? Or a starting pitcher for 1?
Oh, yeah. I would go. Let's see here. So it's really a 8x8. I would go
Tough.
Harper for sure, obviously.
Yep.
And then I think I'd go Bueller and Devers.
I'm with you on Harper. I think I agree on Walker Buehler. I was gonna say Max Scherzer just because I think he'll be better in K/9 and in quality starts.
Oh, you know what? I overlooked him. Yeah, Scherzer over Bueller. That's fine.
But Scott, the fact that it's a keeper league, you might want to lean with the youth of Walker Buehler.
Yeah, that's true too.
Think that
I'm back to Bueller.
you could keep him for longer. So I would go Harper, Buehler, and I still think the overall impact in this format will be better from Kyle Tucker. So I know
but you got the position scarcity thing.
Yeah.
With Devers, and the fact that it's 8x8, I think levels the playing field a little between Tucker and Devers, because Tucker's steals aren't as valuable.
True.
So I do think I'd lean Devers over Tucker, given that it's a 3 outfielder league and you're already keeping an outfielder.
All right. So yeah, Scotty's gonna go with Harper, Devers, and Buehler. I think I would still go with Tucker, though. You did make a good point there, Scotty. This one's from Joel. Dear Hubie, sunny and happy.
No idea here.
This seems like I thought this might be Adam Sandler characters. Hubie Halloween has tons of references to old Adam Sandler movies. Sunny, Happy Gilmore. Sunny
yes. Koufax.
Sunny from, is that name in Big Daddy? I think that might be it.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, look at me.
Those Adam Sandler movies finally paying off for you.
Yeah, Scott, man. Like, if there's any movies I've seen, it's the first 3 Saw movies and a bunch of like goofy, Adam Sandler movies growing up. Again, this one's from Joel. Question for you, gents. I love trading throughout the year, and I'm constantly trying to increase the amount of trades in my leagues. So would you guys happen to have any data that would support increasing trading? For example, do more bench spots or a certain number of roster and bench spots equal more trades on average? Would decreasing the fab available make owners look to trade more often? Is there a fab sweet spot? Not sure there is data out there for this, but I'd love to start the discussion. Yeah, I mean, look, we definitely don't have data, but I mean, Scott's been playing fantasy for a long time. I've been playing fantasy for a long time, not as long as Scott, but I know you play in all different kind of formats, Scott. So is there anything that that maybe stands out, that maybe entices people to trade more often in fantasy?
Well, I think I think the shallower the league. Well, no, that's not necessarily true. I find it easier to trade in points leagues than categories leagues because there's less collateral damage for things you give up. It's just about overall production, and you're not having to weigh the risk of sacrificing in one category to add to another category. So I tend, and some disagree over that. When I've brought it up before, they say, well, yes, but pursuing, particularly at certain times of year, pursuing one category in particular um, opens up, creates an incentive to trade that maybe doesn't exist in points leagues. And maybe that's true. That's not my personal experience. Uh, I mean, I don't know exactly what the sweet spot is. I think maybe too shallow makes it hard to trade, but also too deep makes it hard to trade. There probably is a sweet spot in terms of depth where holes can be created on rosters, and yet it's not so deep that nobody's willing to consolidate two players for one player, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I know I'm not offering you many specifics, but those are two observations I've made.
I would say adding the possibility of trading fab, I think maybe could increase trading as well. I mean, there's a few leagues that I played in where you could straight up trade a percentage of your fab. Hey, Scott, I'm going to give you $50 of my fab budget. You give me Trent Grisham, whatever. But yeah, like I've seen that happen in different kind of leagues. And I think having more fab in that sense, playing with $1,000 to start rather than 100, that probably increases the likelihood that people want to trade away their fab just because they have more of it in general. So yeah, I think that's something you could try, upping the fab to 1,000. I mean, it's typically in increments of 10 anyway. So like 100, 1,000, whatever it might be. So yeah, I would try something like that and maybe adding in that possibility of trading fab for players or trading fab for other fab. Like, I've seen it happen in leagues before. Maybe adding an incentive to trading as well. I don't know what that would look like, but I don't know. I was thinking like having an award at the end of the year for like the best trade made or like the worst trade made. And
you know what I should add?
What do you think?
Dynasty.
Yeah.
When you have different teams focused on the long term and the short term, that makes for a lot more trade possibilities. Every team is always in play for a trade. And, because I play in so many leagues every year, when I started playing fantasy, I was the guy who traded all the time, but I hardly ever trade in redraft leagues anymore because I'm so focused on getting deals done in those dynasty leagues that it just, I just don't have the bandwidth for it anymore. So that's, it's if you like trades, I mean, dynasty is where you're going to see the most.
Yeah, I think that makes sense too. And if you play in a dynasty league, then you could talk about the possibility of trading draft picks, trading rookie picks, and you can really kind of expand there. So I think the more things you have available to trade, it opens it up. So trading fab, trading draft picks in dynasty, those are a few suggestions. So hopefully we'll help you out there, Joel. This is the last one that we got here today, and it's from Caleb in Canada. Big fan of the show. I'm a new listener, but I haven't missed an episode since I started. Thank you, Caleb. We do appreciate it. I am in a head-to-head 6x6 categories league. that allows for 3 keepers with no penalty. I do have a good number to choose from, but not a stud like some of the other managers. I have Garrett Cole. He's pretty good. Max Scherzer. He's pretty good. I'm inclined to keep those 2, but open to just keeping 1. Should I keep them? I need 1 more keeper between Matt Olson, Eloy Jimenez, Austin Riley, Jose Abreu, Alex Bregman, and Corey Seager. Should I keep the 2 pitchers or try with a couple batters? Who would you choose? Head-to-head, 6x6. Does not say how deep the league is, though, Scotty.
Or what the extra category is.
Correct.
We
appreciate you, Caleb. But next time you email in, just add in the size of your league and maybe what those extra categories are.
I think the chalk answer is Matt Olson. And so I don't think you can really go wrong keeping him. I'd be tempted to lock up third base though with Austin Riley, even if it's a little bit riskier. I think that would be my choice, actually. We just did a 12-team head-to-head points draft where I got left out at third base. It's really easy to do. It's the weakest position, and it's not fun. I don't like having that glaring, that glaring shortcoming on your roster. And I'm not sure Olsen, as much as I like him for what he brings to the table, I'm not sure it's quite enough to pass up the chance to go ahead and secure third base when you may not. Who knows if you'll get another chance, especially since it's a keeper league.
Yep, and because it's a keeper league too. I mean, Austin Riley being younger than Matt Olson, and
not that much. Though. Olson's younger than I think many people realize.
I think Olson is about to turn 28.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's not old by any means. I mean, he's in the prime of his career. Yeah. He turns 28 in late March. And I think Austin Riley's probably older than people realize. Actually, no, he's 24 years old. He turns 25 in early April. So
they're like 3 years apart.
Yeah. No, I mean, that helps. It's not like a super deep keeper league here, but yeah, I actually agree. I would go with Cole, Scherzer, and Austin Riley there. We're going to wrap up. Scotty, please go drink some tea.
Put me out of my misery.
Maybe like a throat loss and something. We'll figure it out, man. We're going to get Scotty back on track one way or another. For Scott, I'm Frank. Thank you all for listening and watching this mailbag edition of Fantasy Baseball Today. We'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.